Welcome, you weird and wonderful world, mainly weird to Fickle Sports, the best damn place to waste your time during this lockdown. I must emphasize the use of waste your time in that sentence, but I am joined by the bearded man himself, who's done the reverse of what every man is doing by instead of growing a beard during the lockdown, he has shaved it all off.
Incorrect.
Why is that incorrect? Are you growing it back now?
I am now growing an isolation beard.
Oh, I see. So
That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Isolation beard, because it sounds like you're growing just one part of your beard and you're isolating it, like you've got an island beard.
I find it weird that you're growing a homeless beard, even though you're well kitted up at home as well, with like lots of loo roll and whatnot.
Did you say homeless beard?
Yeah, that's what people are calling it, homeless beards, because they're just letting it completely grow.
I mean, my intention is to go full kind of Tom Hanks in Castaway. I'm not going to in any way attempt to get my hair cut or shaved now. It's just going to be pure whatever happens.
But you'd have to get to his leanness of body as well, right? No?
In that case, then I'm gonna have to rethink my plan. Robbie Williams in Jumanji, even he's quite trim in that, isn't
he? Yeah. So best of luck to you for that, but I have my doubts.
Okay, thank you very much for that. A bit of early morning fat shaming.
It's always welcome.
What you're saying is welcome when you're pointing it this way. That's easy. When you've got the gun in your hand to say, "Oh, you're welcome."
It's weird because we're doing this all online because of the lockdown, so we can't actually see each other's faces. And for all I know, you might be doing some weird seductive looks at me, which you've always done to me. So, but I can't see you do it.
Yeah, you'll never know now. Actually, on that point, we are attempting for the first time to try and do this podcast online. So we just want to apologise. It might be a little bit worse quality than usual. But yeah, we're seeing what we can do whilst isolating away by ourselves.
But we emphasise again, this is purely just to waste people's time. But so
and
it doesn't
trust me, you people have a lot of time to waste.
Yeah.
I know this.
So do we.
Because we have a lot of time to waste.
But anyway, the football gods have finally given us a piece of news, whatever you want to call it. We are the runt of the litter, finally being thrown a bone, and we are fighting it all over social media. And that is the announcement from the Premier League itself that they are potentially delaying the Premier League season further.
Well, actually, they've now delayed it indefinitely, and they said they're only going to finish the season if it is safe and appropriate to do so, which I think might be a little bit of foreplay for a potential avoidance of the Premier League. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that just feels like to me they're just putting the lube onto the scenario that they might have to void it, which I think is fair. I think they should be doing that. They should be very open-minded and just looking at every possible option.
Yeah, so I'll give the full quote. This is an official announcement. It was acknowledged that the Premier League will not resume at the beginning of May, and that the 2019-20 season will only return when it's safe and appropriate to do so. Any return to play will only be with the full support of the government and when medical guidance allows. So yeah, that's really sounding like a good warning shot that this will be completely voided. I mean, there was discussions before about they could start it up again, but it would have to be on an external site where everyone would go to, which relatively seemed feasible. But
I think they need to. I mean, should we just dive in? Because this is what we were talking about the other day, wasn't it? The potential scenarios, who's the winners, who's the losers, and how it might look. So maybe we should just dive in. In my head, you have three options. You have one, you void the Premier League. You have two, you finish it as it is. Or you have three, you try to finish it.
You try to finish it, yeah. And you would try to finish it It would have to be an external offsite where everyone would have to go to. You'd spend a couple of weeks together to make sure that no one has the virus and people get tested. But I was finding it really funny that there was suggestions that the offsite might be China, and I was like, what? You're gonna go to the very epicenter of the virus? And I was like, wow, this is really like the blind leading the blind in like a minefield, because with the Premier League it sounded ridiculous.
It's utterly ridiculous. Although I do think so. Should we dive into those three in a bit more detail?
Yeah.
So let's first of all go with voiding the Premier League. Now, I think first thing I want to say is Liverpool Football Club.
They'll be the biggest joke in like for a century.
Okay, Liverpool fans, this is something you've got to understand. Gary is right, you will be the biggest joke for the next century. And it's totally undeserved.
Very undeserved. I don't mind you guys winning it, because you deserve it.
And I'm the exact same, but that's not how football works. Football doesn't go by what you deserve. Football goes just by what the fuck happens, which is why we all love football. And unfortunately for you guys, you will get you will be tagged as the biggest jokers probably in the century. And that's coming from a Tottenham fan. We bottle everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when Liverpool's last title was, 88, 89 or whatnot. Yeah, I think it was probably then. So,
I don't know. I know that for a long time they've been, or for the last few years, they've been drawn with United with an amount of titles, right? Yeah. And I was finally going to creep one ahead.
So who would, under that scenario, the main teams that would benefit would be obviously the teams being in the potential relegation zone, because they would probably stay up, right?
The issue you have is that there's going to be legal consequences for whichever they decide, and they're probably going to look at the one which makes most financial sense. I did see something the other day that said that if they cancel the Premier League now, they'll lose like a few million, or not a few million, but I think it's hundreds of millions. But if they delay the start of next season, or if next season gets cancelled, it's 3 billion. So
yeah, that's
when it comes
wild.
down to it, if they have to choose between ending this one early or voiding it, or delaying the start of next one, or potentially putting that one into trouble, I think they're going to pick next season over this season.
Yeah, definitely, because you can't keep delaying the next season again and again, because it has like a snowball effect where you affect different tournaments and whatnot. It becomes a bit of a nightmare. A lot of people have said in some interviews that probably like late June or July would be probably the cutoff point of we have to rubber stamp this voidance of the Premier League. Yeah.
So to confirm, I was just going to roll through who we think the winners are if we void the Premier League. You have Tottenham, I think, up there. I think they've had a pretty shit season. Same with Arsenal.
Wait, we go off of... You're saying we go off the final position of last year because you voided this entire season, right?
No, I'm saying who would win in the scenario that they void it. Like, who would it come out well for? So Tottenham and Arsenal have been particularly shit this season, so it would come out well for them. I think West Ham, Watford and Bournemouth.
Yeah.
They're all reasonably...
They're not going to get relegated. Norwich won't be relegated.
The reason why I didn't include Norwich or Villa in that list is just because they're newly promoted sides, and I'm not saying that they should go down, or the expectation even is that they should go down, but Bournemouth, Watford and West Ham, they're all established Premier League sides. Them, compared to Aston Villa and Norwich, you would expect them to stay up more than newly promoted sides.
But we haven't gone over the absolute biggest winners of this all, and that's Man United. Man United fans, they will be delighted that Liverpool won't win the Premier League and sort of match. Was it 20 for 20? It would be 20-20 in terms of league titles each if Liverpool won this league.
Yeah, for some reason I had in my head it was 12-13, but I've just realised that's got to be wrong.
No, I think it's 20 versus 19. So
that sounds a lot. That sounds a lot more accurate to me. And conversely, the biggest losers would be Liverpool.
Yeah, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think, I don't know, but you might have a lot of Liverpool fans who might just stop following football. They might just like, this is the final straw. We're never gonna win the Premier League ever.
No, because it's football fans are weird. They first of all, the team you support is kind of an accident of birth. You can't change it, and I think it's football's a drug. So
Yeah.
as bad as it hurts you, you can't help but go back for more. Other losers include Leicester, Wolves, Sheffield United.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Really unfair on them.
Yeah. Another big winner potentially is actually Arsenal, because Arsenal came fifth, right? But if Man City's Champions League ban is confirmed, then it would go to fifth place potentially.
Well, they were already on the winners list because of how shite they were this season.
Oh yeah.
But you're totally right. And apparently, a lot of the Premier League, or a few of the Premier League clubs, rumours were that it was started by Arsenal, but they're not confirmed. But they've gone to.
Oh, I'm sure it was our snaky board that did it.
They've gone to CAS and basically said, or it may have been CAS UEFA, I can't remember, but what their stance is if Manchester City do not get their case heard at CAS before the start of next season, then their ban should be enforceable as of next season, which I think is sort of fair.
Well, yeah, it's fair. You can't just wait around like constantly. It's the same argument with the Premier League. You can't just wait around for things, just for one club to get their appeal done. Like we got to move on.
Yeah, and I am like, they've been found guilty. They're appealing it, but I am of the point that they have now, if they've been found guilty, they have been charged, and they've been, what's the bloody word where you get? I don't think it's found. Essentially, they have been their verdicts has been passed. They're appealing it, but they have been found guilty. So right now we are dealing with a guilty party, and I don't see why that a team like Arsenal or any other team should be at a disadvantage against the guilty team.
Yeah.
So I think the advantage, if anyone, should go to anyone other than City.
Yeah. And plus, it's much less work for CAS. They can just put their feet up and be like, yeah, sorry, no.
Yeah, CAS are usually very good. They try to deal with stuff in a timely manner. They're aware of when Premier Leagues or when leagues or different cups start, so they try to do it around that. But obviously with Corona, it's made it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, no way something like that really realistically being done.
So as a bit of a smooth transition into the next possible scenario is ending the Premier League as it stands right now. I actually think this is the one that's least likely to happen, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, go on.
If you do that, you're opening a door for a lot more legal arguments.
Yeah, what ifs and whatnot, and like suing, and like it would be a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of reports saying that Premier League clubs would be happy for Liverpool to win the Premier League, and as much as I think they are, I also think they know that they probably won't do that, because if you say, okay, Liverpool are winning the Premier League, then what you're going to have Leicester City pop up and say, well, we want Champions League then because we finished third.
Yeah, and they would be within their rights to say that.
You're going to have Bournemouth, who are on the same points as Watford and West Ham. You're going to have them saying, so we're going to get relegated based on this. So I think the Premier League clubs have probably all come together and said, yeah, they can win it, but I think they know in the back of their head that it really is the most difficult scenario to try and act out for the Premier League.
Yeah, no, especially if it was it 9 games left? I think if you had something like 3 games left, actually even with 3 games left, the teams who are being relegated or close to being relegated within each other, they would have a massive lawsuit actually, so that wouldn't even work either.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Actually, Chelsea didn't get Champions League this season. Weren't in the Champions League this season, were they? No, they won the Europa League, right?
No, they finished 4th and they won the Europa League. Don't worry, I know this pain.
But yeah, so I think they'll have a massive legal battle on their hands. So I think they will, whatever decision they make, they will tread carefully. And I don't think they will go with a decision that will open up a can of worms. And I definitely think that is the biggest can of worms opener. Jesus,
Yeah.
that was a shit sentence. But I think that's the biggest possible problem they could have. Winners if they ended it now, or losers if they ended it now.
Everyone's pretty much a loser though. Feels like in that scenario.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I see this really stupid Liverpool fan saying it was like unfair that they've kind of stopped the Premier League because of Corona, all that. And this is one fan. This is not a representation of all Liverpool fans, but I think what a stupid thing to.
But for now, we can assume it is.
But it's like what's an utterly ridiculous thing to say. No one wants the Premier League to stop. I support Tottenham. We are playing shit, like really bad, and even I don't want the Premier League to stop, and that's quite surprising because all Tottenham do is drive me to booze.
Well, if the Premier League resumed, you'd probably be one team to benefit because you would have Harry Kane back, right? And
Son.
Oh no, with Son Heung-min, he's doing his military service in Korea with this outbreak going on. He might as well serve it.
Oh, is he?
That's what I've been reading. Yeah.
Fine. I don't think he was going to do it anyway because he won. I thought he didn't have to because he won either the Olympics or the South Asia or the Asia Cup. So they let him off.
Oh, really? I just read an article about it, but anyway,
maybe they've asked him to do a little bit whilst it's not going on. I know he's back in South Korea.
Yeah.
But we'll just quickly fly through the losers and winners. As I said, but we have losers being Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham. Well, actually, you know what? They wouldn't be losers because that's out. It'd be Bournemouth mainly, and I think also Aston Villa because if you're just cutting the season off, as I was saying before, yes, Bournemouth are more likely to stay up, but at least they've got a given a chance to fight.
Yeah.
And then winners would be Liverpool, Leicester, West Ham, and Watford. All of whom, especially Liverpool and Leicester, I would just say, like, it would be so cruel to them.
Oh yeah, but who cares? No. I agree. So
I'm trying to be. You know what? Right, I'm trying to be nice and not to dig out
to
Liverpool
the smaller
fans.
class.
No. I'm not trying not to dig out the Liverpool fans because it's such an easy fucking joke to make, and it really is cruel.
Yeah.
As I said before, if this happens, you just got to accept it, guys. I'm sorry. You can maybe hibernate, maybe watch cricket for a few years. The final scenario is that they finish the Premier League somehow. Now, the issue you have with that is it's not necessarily the players, it's all the staff around them. So if you have the Premier League continue, firstly, you need doctors at the Premier League.
You need physios, you need organisers, event organisers, you need...
No, but I'm talking specifically people who are currently working with the NHS and probably helping fight Corona.
Yeah, having to come over and do that, which is ridiculous. No one will be on for it.
And I think that's the most important thing. And I think until we're at a point where this is containable, I don't think that we should be prioritising football over people's lives, which is what essentially you're doing if you're asking a doctor to step away for a few hours.
Yeah, it would be a PR nightmare, really, for the Premier League.
And I think there's other scenarios where it's not just the players that need to be corona free, but it's their families, it's everyone linked to the club. It's not just it's thousands of people, not hundreds.
They would have to have a list of people that is only allowed, and they couldn't add any more people just for the risk of getting an outbreak within there, because then that'd be wow. You couldn't recover from that if you started that all up and then someone got corona and then like the whole thing went to shit.
Yeah, heads would roll.
Yeah, so I don't think that's possible. I was thinking about it. Like the inner kid inside you was like, oh, why can't they just go somewhere and like figure it all out and play like sort of a off-site and everyone play every single day basically and finish the season. But then you start scratching behind the surface and you're like, oh, you need this, you need these people, you need staff, you need like it's just a practical nightmare. So
yeah, if it was just 18 players and a manager, I would agree to it, but it's not. It's a much bigger, more complex machine than that. So it's unfortunate, but I think certainly at the moment there's no possible way it can return. I think
Yeah.
I
So
think it
Harry Kane
then
touched on this. He said that for him, there needs to be a point where enough is enough. This is actual words. Probably the time limit for me is the end of June. Playing into July or August and pushing next season back, I don't see too much benefit in that. It's just depending on what the government and the health services say. Really, when that's safe, it might even delay next season.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think for this season, I think they need to work out the priority. Is the priority finishing this season, or is it going to be starting next season? As discussed before, they're going to probably be led by the money, so it will be starting next season. And so they probably do have during these regular meetings, they probably have a date in mind, maybe a go, no go date, where they're basically working towards and saying that if that date isn't met, then we need to move on to the next season.
Yeah, because all these TV companies, they'll be like, okay, it's supposed to start in August, right? If you don't start in August, they might have contractual disputes because they don't have any, like, everyone's struggling for money. Every company is struggling for money. So they're like, well, we can't pay you this if we don't have any of the products, and we can't just keep bankrolling you. So we're just going to void our contract, which, as everyone knows, with all those hotels and like holiday tickets, you're easily getting your cancellation fees back just because you can't deliver on a service.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think they've got a decision to make there. I think football will only come back, whether that be that this finishing this season or starting next season. I think football will only come back when we're in a position where essentially Corona is manageable.
Which I don't think is anytime soon.
Well, I think what I mean by manageable is we need a good few months of isolation and people taking it seriously. Because if they're managing to tail off the amount of people that are getting infected, and they're able to get towards the tail end of that curve where it's dropping, I think you're then in a position where doctors will be a bit more, have a bit more free time. But the moment they're fighting fires and they're still dealing with people from before isolation was put into place, where they're still getting, like, the cases are getting more and more every day. Whereas if people spend time in isolation, let's say we spend 2 months in isolation, by that time, people who've had it have hopefully recovered, and then it shouldn't have spread. The amount of cases should, like, plummet. The amount of new cases, sorry.